We've been through 3 weeks of the total 6-week journey. And I think that there might be a feeling both of, oh my gosh, 3 more weeks to go? That's a long time. And yet, I think that we also might be feeling a sense of the impending encroachment of what is to come. I think the fact that we are a group of Christian women here, we've been there and done that before. We have made this Lenten journey before. So it's in some ways very familiar, and yet it's also ever new. So I'd like to start tonight with everyone doing so as comfortably as possible to ask, what have you discovered? What has your Lenten journey been like for you in these past 3 weeks?
Lauren, I think one of the things that stood out for me was solitude. That it was all right, you know, to just be quiet. Just turn it off. And to let my thoughts think about Christ.
It wasn't in always giving up things. She thought that that was not what she wanted to do or she would do. And it was a matter of putting more positive things into her thoughts. No matter what it is, no matter whether it's not being mad at that person who just cut you off, or just trying to be more calm and peaceful at home with whatever, when something burns on the stove, or just in general with people you see. And
I have now made it a little Zen garden. I have my little Buddha, I have my little cross, I have my little St. Francis in there in this little garden. And say, for a half an hour to an hour, I am in, and I look at the little garden, but I look at my little people in there and all, and I just, serenity, and I pray, and I meditate.
What are some of the themes? What are some of the key things that you're hearing in common?
Setting aside time.
Priorities?
Focus.
Focus.
Okay.
Okay. So in the preparation that we have been consciously doing in the last couple of weeks, it's about, in a way, what Fran said, we're getting organized. We're getting organized because we're going to be moving into an extremely challenging event. Is going to be Holy Week. I think that one of the things that Jesus is calling us to in these next very critical weeks is comfort. I think he wants to comfort us, and I think he wants us to comfort him. We started out as human beings in a garden. We started in the Garden of Eden. We're going to end up in a garden where there's an empty tomb, and Jesus is going to be mistaken for the gardener. But in between, we still have to go to a very difficult garden, the garden of the oil press. What happened when Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane? What did the disciples do?
Fall asleep.
What we are being called to do is to continue on this journey of waiting and watching and praying and being with him. To sit with him. Read that, and I'm going to invite you to listen very carefully. Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "So you could not stay awake with me 1 hour? Stay awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again, third time. He went away for the second time and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." And again, third time. He came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, third time, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." He's agitated, he's nervous, and he's sad. But Jesus is still saying to them, stay awake. It's not going to be easy, but stay awake. And what do you think he is asking them to stay awake for? What is going to be the payoff, if you will? Why is Jesus saying, stay awake?
This is what we hope. We go through bad times, once, twice, thrice, how many times? And we keep praying. It's going to get better, it's going to get better. Not necessarily so. It's not going to be that bright horizon, the sun going to rise. No, that was a big lesson there. No matter how many times you ask, this is the thing that's going to be, it's got to be done this way, and this is it. And that's a hard thing for Christians to understand, that you don't get that gold star, not as we see it. Spiritually, yes, yes. But materially, no. You just have to go through all the steps. So the anticipatory expectation isn't there.
If they had stayed awake, how would their journey of Holy Week, how do you think it would have been different?
In fact, they did betray him by not being conscious, by not allowing themselves to feel, by not going deeper, or at least being present with him. They absented themselves consciously or unconsciously from the presence of Christ.
What some of you articulated in terms of how you have been more present, more conscious, more aware in these first 3 weeks of Lent, more prayerful, journeying, looking at your feelings, looking at your relationship with Christ, looking at things, Audrey, as you said, that was kind of a wake-up call. It's not about what I give up, it's about how present am I in my everyday life. And I think this is what the whole story of Jesus in the garden. Jesus in the garden is so intently and intensely with the Father. Even in his pain, even in his sorrow, even in his agitation. It's not a pretty picture, but he's there. And he keeps going back, and going back, and going back to the Father. Pray again, pray again, pray again. But guess who he keeps coming to as well? Us. Are you asleep? Can you not wait with me? Can you not watch with me 1 hour?
By not being awake, whether they chose to or not, they missed an incredible...
See, I wonder too, he's told them that the Son of Man has to go back and he has to be persecuted and die. And they were like, I'm here. But I think if they had gone into the garden and seen his pain, his fear, the realness of it to them would have been, yes, this is going to happen, and he's facing it, and we need to be brave too.
I want to be able to walk that last week with him And I want to ask everybody who was there or not there, in one way or another, tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to learn. How would you have done it differently, Peter? How would you have done it differently, Pilate? What was it like, Veronica? Why did you jump out of the crowd and wipe his brow with your claw? Simon, what was it like to be pulled out of the crowd by a Roman soldier and say, here, help him carry his cross? Me? I just got to town. I don't know this guy. So I think the invitation that I'm inviting us to is to make the journey and to learn from those that we make the journey with, all the characters, and yet to stay in our own skin.
Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.